To this now, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana is set to appoint a new board at the Public Investment Corporation following the resignation of Deputy Finance Minister David Masondo as the fund's chairperson, along with other board members. Godongwana is consulting with Cabinet on this matter in line with the Public Investment Corporation Act. So let's look at the week that was and what has been going on within the PIC. We speak to Honorary Professor at Wits Business School and economist at Altitude Wealth, Prof Jannie Rossouw. Prof, good evening to you. And thank you so much for your time. So quite the events, right? The suspension of the CEO and Chief Investment Officer, allegations, whistleblower allegations, Financial Sector Conduct Authority investigation, the resignation of non-executive directors, and now the resignation of the board chair. All of it signals to a concerning governance situation. Let's talk about how you're viewing these developments.
Good evening and good evening to all the viewers tonight. This is a very serious situation in as much as the PIC in the main is the investment arm or investment vehicle of the GEPF, the Government Employees Pension Fund. The Government Employees Pension Fund is by far South Africa's biggest pension fund. The fund has about 1.3 million active members and about 550,000 pensioner members and beneficiaries of former members who receive benefits in the form of pensions from the fund. So the PIC is an investment arm of this fund, and one would want to see stability at the investment arm to ensure that the members and the beneficiaries and the pensioners of the GEPF get fair and equitable returns on their investment funds.
And when you then look at that, and especially because there would be a lot of, public servants who would be watching with keen interest what's happening here, what do you think would be their reaction to these particular developments, and how much of a worry, do they have to have given what has been taking place right now?
Well, my impression is that the GEPF is well managed, that the fund itself has the necessary controls and has the necessary governance in place. So from that perspective, active members and former members and beneficiaries should not be concerned. The concern of these members should be in respect of the actions of the PIC, the Public Investment Corporation, as far as their funds are invested. And the function of the PIC, of course, is to make sure that the GEPF members get the best possible return at the lowest possible risk. And at this point in time, the members' concern should be about risks in the Public Investment Corporation. So the focus should not be on the fund as such, but on the PIC and on happenings at the PIC.
And when we speak about the happenings at the PIC, I mean, at some point we had a whole commission looking at what was going on here. And then now we're back here again with this particular entity. In your view, what keeps us coming back to this point?
Yeah, you quite rightly say that about 8 or so years ago, we had the Party Commission of inquiry into happenings at the PIC. And in a sense, we are back now where we were 8 years ago. And unfortunately, all the recommendations of the Party Commission had not been implemented. So one of the things happening now is the lack of implementation of the recommendations of the Party Commission. So the first step would be to ensure implementation of the recommendations of the Party Commission. It seems to me that the heart of the problem at the PIC is a divided board and differences of opinion on the types of investments the PIC should make and the type of risk the PIC should accept. That is how I see it from the outside. I should add that I have no inside information. I can only judge from what I read in the media.
And Prof, in light of what you've just said about the board, then does, appointing a new board and a new chairperson then help the situation, in your view?
Yes, of course, you have to appoint a new board as a matter of urgency, and you have to appoint a new chairperson as a matter of urgency, because while at the moment you don't have a board, you also have a lot of people in acting positions. It is as if the latest Financial Mail states that it seems that the PIC is going to Hollywood. They are all actors. There are no permanent appointees. So I don't know whether all these people will get Oscars for acting, just on a lighter note. But the point is you have to have a board to make sure that you can make the necessary substantive appointments, because somebody must take responsibility for making these appointments. So from that perspective, the first step is to get a board, get a chairperson, get stability at that level, and then get management stability at a very important institution, as I've said, responsible for the investment, amongst others, of the funds of the GEPF.
And as a final one then, as you talk about acting, this would make like a very, serious story. But perhaps on a serious note, when we look at the appointments, I know the minister says that he's going to be in consultation with cabinet, but what does he prioritize in light of those appointments, given the fact that right now, as you say, there've been, it seems, a difference in opinion as far as the investments are concerned, but then it raises all other issues of governance, that whistleblower, allegations, etc. So what does he prioritize when he then appoints these individuals in consultation with cabinet?
Yeah, a board appointment, obviously you have to have a board and a chairperson for the board. And a board with a chairperson that can function in the best interests of the stakeholders in the PIC. So the choice of members of the board, very important. And then the board must figure out how to work with the chairperson. Now, traditionally, Deputy Minister of Finance has been the chairperson of the board. We have two deputy ministers of finance at the moment. If Dr. Masondo is then not in the position, it raises the question whether the minister should appoint the other deputy minister of finance, Minister Saruping, or whether he takes someone, another deputy minister from the economics cluster in cabinet. But it must be a chairperson that can work out a work relationship within the board and can keep the board together to function together as one body to ensure proper governance at the organization.
And Prof, you have others who are concerned, saying that maybe perhaps it's time to break away from tradition, regardless of what the legislation says, because some say that maybe that would have been where the problem is, that you appointing somebody who may not necessarily be a fit to understand what kind of functions they need to have here. So maybe you might need to be looking at a different person when it comes to a chairperson of the board. There is an argument like that from some. Do you think it's a feasible argument in your view?
Yeah, indeed. One of the recommendations of the Party Commission was that the Deputy Minister of Finance, or for that matter, a Deputy Minister, should not be the chairperson of the board, but that the chairperson should be independent. And of course, one of the criticisms is that the PIC is subject to political interference. I cannot judge that argument. I have not seen the evidence. But yes, the Party Commission was of the opinion that it's time for an independent chairperson to be appointed to the PIC.
And so certainly, and a myriad of other recommendations were made in light of this particular entity. But Prof, appreciate your time as always. Thank you for speaking to us. Honorary Professor at Wits Business School and economist at Altitude Wealth, Professor Jannie Rossouw.